Hello everyone, and welcome back to yet another micromaster Transformers review. This micromaster, as you can see, is a Decepticon, and I've got an instruction sheet here, so bring it in and you can see his name is Skyhopper, and as ever it's the actual micromaster that's Skyhopper, and the rest of this set is actually just his base. It's classed just as a base, really. I would say a helicopter attack base would be a better description. I'll start off by showing you what you actually got as in the set. First of all, you've got the main body of base and helicopter, which is this rather sort of quite neat sort of looking attack helicopter, obviously with a cockpit area for the micromaster, but sort of modelled on something along the lines of an Apache attack helicopter, you know, sort of only loosely modelled, let's say. But yeah, pretty sort of nice bit of Decepticon purple in there, and obviously you get nice Decepticon logos on them as well. Quite nice moulding details on this. I will show you some sort of close-up views when I transform this as well, so that you can see sort of like there's quite a bit of work inside involved in where they've manufactured this. You get a nice big purple radar dish, pretty basic on the back side, but again a little bit of detail on the front. The rotor blades for the helicopter, a left and a right handed dual, I suppose you call them like a rocket launcher, hollow on the other side, so again that's what I say, left and right handed. A, well, I suppose laser rifle cum machine gun sort of weapon, again same both sides. Again all of these parts are unique to this particular base as well. One yellow double-ended ramp, and again this is unique I think to this base, and two smaller ones which are just one end connections, and they've got this sort of little weird little ridge to help guide the vehicles off the end. But again, I think unique to this, and a little platform as well, which again is unique. It's different from ground shakers because of these holes. So if you ever see one of these, it's for this set and not ground shaker. Anyway, right. Well, first of all, I suppose I should show you his helicopter mode, because he's more or less there anyway at the moment. Now you can put this piece in as part of his helicopter mode, and I'll just stick it in there, and that fits in with that big peg onto that hole down there. It goes that way round, and you can close it up. I suppose next we'll put the blades on, and they just peg on the top. They do spin as well, so again it's quite nice. The ramps have no part in this side of the transformation, which is a bit of a shame. They had nowhere to stow them, because otherwise, you know, you could have virtually made this a self-contained little play set in that way. But as with a lot of G1s, you end up with bits what you've got to keep hold of somewhere. Anyway, the dual rockets, they fit in left and right onto the side of the helicopter, like so. And the gun, it's got a peg, but you don't actually use the peg. There's a hole on the top, and that goes onto this peg underneath, so it stays the correct way up. So then you get the proper attack helicopter look with a gun at the front and rocket pods to the side. And you can actually stow this radar dish. It kind of spoils the look, but it is allowed for, and you put that on a peg on the back there. Now it kind of looks a little bit silly and a bit kibbly, so being that you've got to find somewhere to put them ramps in the meantime, it would have kind of made sense just to take that off really. But this is how they show it from Hasbro. Now you take the micromaster, which of course is Skyhopper. Now he's a recolour of one of the Decepticon jets from the fighter sort of group. I think the original one was black, but they brought him out in green and grey. and as you can see they've given him some nice little sticker details as well on his fins, which is, you know, quite nice, little metallic-y sort of paper details, stickers. But again, on a figure that size, you know, that was a little bit more effort than they usually went to. Transformation is exactly the same as the earlier Decepticon Airstrike Patrol, I think it was, in that you just pull the front forward to extend it, swing the cockpit back over, and at this stage he kind of looks a little bit like a Seeker because he's got his wings out to the side, which doesn't actually look that bad, and you can actually still move his arms while he's got his wings in that position. So it's a matter of choice whether you want to keep him like that, but they are designed to fold to the back like so. But I actually prefer having him out a bit, makes him a bit more G1 Seekerish, so yeah, it looks a little bit better for it. Usual screw right in the middle of the chest, which again, as I say, kind of spoils the look at the front of the figure, but again, putting these figures together in like a production sort of sense, they're going to have to do something like that really. Yeah, not a badly moulded little figure. Again, they've picked out his face in a nice little purple colour to match the base as well. But when you consider the scale of these figures, you know, they went to a fair bit of effort. I mean, all of, as I say on earlier reviews, all of these wheels are little freewheeling little wheels, plastic wheels. So, you know, not too bad. And of course they picked out his canopy on jet mode in purple as well. But yeah, anyway, that's Skyhopper himself. And again, a little bit weird, but if you could transform into a jet personally, why would you need a helicopter? A little bit weird, but again, never mind. He of course does fit in there, and he can actually sort of peg on inside there. I won't go to the effort of actually getting him fully sort of in there solid, because of course I'm about to transform it to a base mode, so I'll just whip him out just to stop him falling out while I move it around, and I'll let you have a better look at the detailing on the outside of the helicopter. Pretty sort of reasonable detailing, moulding detail. And again, obviously you've got a tail rotor which does spin as well. But yeah, not too bad. A little bit sort of like, you know, they didn't keep things completely uniform, where you've got almost like a, I suppose, a searchlight or a radar emplacement on the front of the nose as well. And of course you've got some black skids which are directly screwed to the main body, so not movable. Right, transforming it to base mode. Now, first things first is you've got to take off all the bits I've just put on. And we come back to them as we need them. Now, with the base mode, first of all, split open the nose of the helicopter, and that reveals like a multi-launch rocket sort of battery, and that's effectively the front of it done. You swing, just move them forward slightly to get these fins out of the way, and swing the sides down, and then it can be manoeuvred back. Take out the, and this is a bit tight, I will warn you, once you peg it in, it is a bit of a pig to get back out. Take that yellow platform out. You then have to swing the whole tail section around like so, and you can swing down, swing out, sorry, the engine pod sort of sides, like so, and you swing the tail round, so it's now effectively backwards. And before I actually flip them over, I'll just show you all the moulding detail, what's on the inside of the helicopter. Now, they went to the effort of putting all of this detailing on this panel here, and then when you turn him into base mode, you lose it all, because then it's like a roadway. which I do find it odd that they went to all the effort of moulding that side of it, because you don't really see it obviously inside the helicopter sort of, cockpit, especially when you've got the micromaster in it, and of course you instantly lose it all as soon as you transform the base. So a little bit odd, but yeah, lots of moulding detail on the rest of it, and pretty nice too, and some nice sort of sticker details as well here and there. But anyway, that's the bare bones of the base. I'll rest that down so I can show you what you do with the rest of it. Now first of all, you can put this platform anywhere you've got the larger holes. I'll do what the instructions show as like the standard transformation for it, and they usually show this in one of the rocket pod bits at the back, like so. Now you can put the rotors back on for storage sort of side of things, and they peg, that pegs in that hole on the back, and you can peg it either straight in like that, but it's better to put it on a bit of an angle, and that just sort of stays put like that. And it's almost really just to get it out of the way. The rocket pods, again, they can fit to any of these holes, either up here, down there, but they tend to show them being fitted on sort of like this at the front, so both in opposite sides like that. And that was Bumble blogging, trying to have a little chat. I shall get back to him in a minute. There is the machine gun section of it. Now it connects on to a hole at the back here, and then you've got yellow ramps. Now the smaller ones go to the sides like so, a fit like that. As standard with a lot of the G1 bases, they kind of made things, although not uniform, for symmetrical sort of side of things, but you often found that they had a ramp at each end and then something in the middle. Scorponok's a good example of that, as is Triptychon, and again they've kept that theme, but you could move these ramps around either way, but they often show this double one in the middle, and again because it's a double one it can connect to any of the bases from the G1 line, and that just connects on the front like so. So again you could lift that up and connect that to any of the smaller bases, or even some of the larger ones as well, if you just wanted to sort of like attach it to but not clip it in position. It would even sort of work kind of connecting to Scorponok and other bases like that. Anyway, last but not least is the radar dish, and that fits on to that little grey pig up there, and that is the Skyhopper base complete, and it's a pretty good base. I mean, as I say, you can peg Skyhopper himself onto his little platform up there, and that's all pretty securely fixed. Obviously the ramps flap about a little bit as you move it, but I'll bring it in so you can have a bit better look at how it's all positioned and that. And as I say, I quite like it. I think it's pretty good. It goes well with Skystalker, and especially there's a bit of similarity in the fact that the sort of like waist sort of parts split open on Skystalker's little scout vehicle. The front splits open in much the same way, and of course they would all completely sort of fit together as well. Lots of positions, obviously. It's not just up on that platform, but you can put obviously the micromasters in positions there to sort of man the guns, so to speak. Obviously ground vehicle sort of based ones can obviously go down the ramps in any direction. So yeah, it's a pretty good little base. One I'd recommend. Some of the smaller bases are a bit, you know, you've got either you're going to love them or hate them. It's a bit like Marmite. So in that sense, I wouldn't recommend them unless you're a real G1 fan. But this one I kind of would. with Skystalker as well, and with Countdown, who I reviewed before I did this one. They're definitely worth picking up. They kind of work with Cyberverse sort of size vehicles. If I transform quickly, little Cyberverse Bumblebee I picked up the other day. We'll get there in a moment. And as you can see, even if you're not completely a G1 fan, Cyberverse vehicles fit and will work. And even size wise, if I bring in one of the other ones that's still transformed, if I bring in the Optimus Prime I got, again, a little bit bigger, but they kind of work. So even if you're not a complete G1 fan and you've got sort of Cyberverse type figures, these bases do kind of work for them as well, and in that way you get a little bit more play value than this if you're just sort of like thinking, oh well, they're only for G1 collectors. So they were worth picking up in that way. Obviously the micromasters themselves are quite basic compared to a Cyberverse figure, but I feel they kind of got their own little G1 charm. So again, you know, if you're into your G1, they were worth getting, but the actual micromasters themselves, you know, the base, if you didn't have it complete and you didn't have the micromaster, it's not really going to detract from actually playing with the base or displaying it. So anyway, there you go. That is G1 Skyhopper. Hope you enjoyed this little review. I shall now sign off and go and tell Bumbleblogging off for interrupting me, and I shall see you again for another review. Thanks for watching.